Welcome to FinOps in Action. I'm your host, Alon Arvatz. Each week, I'll sit down with FinOps experts to explore the toughest challenges between FinOps and engineering. This show is brought to you by Point 5, empowering teams to optimize cloud costs with deep detection and remediation tools that drive action. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm super excited to have a very, very special guest. He is really a FinOps legend and a thought leader. He has wealth of experience as a software engineer and accountant, the perfect mix. He has experience in FinOps as a practitioner and at the AWS, advising customers on how to get maximum value from their cloud spend. He established the FinOps program at Nubank from scratch, and he is the Senior Director of Engineering at Nubank. I'm happy to welcome Mike Rosenberg. Mike, how are you doing today?
Oh, outstanding. We've got about 5 inches of snow on the ground. It's 22 degrees out here in beautiful Granger, Indiana, and can't think of a better time and place to start talking about FinOps.
That's the perfect setting. And I want to give us some of your perspective on what you believe should be the FinOps practitioner's top priority.
For me personally, I think FinOps is in large part a people problem. You need to convince people that business value creation, the core of FinOps, is an important part of assessing your architectural decisions, your development decisions, and how you operate your cloud resources. And it doesn't matter the cloud vendor. The philosophy is the same wherever you go. I tell a lot of our engineers, I don't care how much you spend. I care that it creates a return on the company's investment for that spend. And getting people who live in the world of bits and bytes to start thinking just a little bit about debits and credits. Stay on the income statement, stay in that cost of goods sold section, and understand the difference of how your decisions impact gross margin. So for me, that's the important part. It's the hard part, and mostly because it is truly a people problem. Many things you can automate your way out of. Educating a big pool of engineers is not a solution that is solved through automation.
Absolutely. And basically, you're talking about educating engineers or making them more aware. Do you take more of a stick approach or a carrot approach?
Oh, 100% carrot. Never blame the past. I can walk into a room full of Nubank engineers and go, you should have done this. You could have done it that way. This would have been the right approach. This is what I would have done with my experience. And they would look at me and go, we're a thriving, growing public company with over 115 million customers. Could you repeat yourself again? And I would look foolish. So what I want to do is make tomorrow better than today. What can we do to get incremental improvement day after day after day and build that up over time and make progress that way? If the would've, could've, should've mentality has, in my opinion, no productive place in these conversations with engineers.
It sounds like this is how you engage with engineers on specific opportunities or specific issues with their infrastructure. Do you also run awareness campaigns across the organization?
Absolutely. My awareness campaign is done in the form of a blog post. So when an engineer or a team of engineers do something really cool, I have an approach. I explain the technical solution. I explain it at a unit level. And then I explain what it means at Nubank scale. Because what I want engineers to understand is there's a great phrase I learned from a colleague back at Allstate Insurance. No one raindrop believes it's responsible for the flood. I want everybody to understand they're raindrops as individuals. But if you look at credit card transactions, we process millions of those raindrops a day. And at scale, that fraction of a penny that you're saving by optimizing that last read or write capacity unit on a DynamoDB table, that adds up at our scale. And when I publish those blog posts, you want to give praise to the engineers who did good work. So that's a positive feedback loop. I publish them in the engineering announcement channel, so it's got a wide audience. And then somebody might go, hey, that might apply for my service. I'll go talk to the engineers who were successful and build that up. So I do advertising campaigns in the form of blog posts. My first year at Nubank, I did 94 of them. I started off January of this year. I think I've done 8 so far. And I don't care if you're saving $5 a month, $50,000 a month, or $50 million a month. All savings are loved, great and small, because as time goes on and you get more efficient, you're going to have more smaller savings. And if you ignore them early in your advertising campaign process, people are going to think, oh, he's got nothing else to talk about. He's going to talk about the little thing I did. But the reality is the little thing for that small service may be a big thing for another service, and to create that awareness is just a good thing.
It is fascinating. It also sounds like you're really aiming to touch every engineer. Is there also something you do to actually engage with engineering leadership to support you on your effort?
Well, I want to talk in terms of data. We identify opportunities, and I advocate, and the people on my squad advocate to get that work put in the backlog, because, I will say this about the cloud, and I've said this many times before in various venues. It's all, the difference between a good cloud engineer and a great cloud engineer is a great cloud engineer understands his or her impact on cost. We can all be good cloud engineers. I mean, we've got a lot of them. There's hundreds of thousands of them out there. But the ones who think about cost as a non-functional requirement are better. And I want to get that thought process all the way up, from the senior leadership team down to the engineer who started last week at Nubank. And the one thing is the tie that binds us being a company is, hey, when you make our systems more financially efficient, that's good for operations, that's good for margin, that's good for the stock price. And we all get compensated with, stock options. When yours go up, mine go up. I'll be very selfish, but it is a common language. And that's one of the things I will do. I will talk in terms of what it does to the stock price, because that's the thing that everybody in this company, regardless of your role in the company, technical person, non-technical person, we all get our stock. And when they go up, we all win together. And that's a good thing.
And usually when we talk about FinOps and efficiency and the stock of the company, usually we talk about how FinOps help improve the margins of the company. And as a result, the stock price goes up. But I think that specifically in Nubank, you have another aspect where FinOps and efficiency is tightly connected to your mission as a company.
Oh, absolutely. To kind of rewind for those who aren't familiar with Nubank, we entered the banking market with a very low cost to serve. And we brought in a lot of people into the Brazilian banking market, our home market. We operate in Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico right now. But in the Brazil market, we brought the unbanked into the market. And to serve the lower end of the market, you need to have a low cost structure. All in, technical, non-technical. And having that low cost to serve in our engineering services helps us live into our mission. We did a study that in 2023, if we had charged the same level of fees as our competitors, we would have charged our customers $8 billion US more than we did. And we're proud of the fact we didn't charge them $8 billion more. That's $8 billion more amongst Brazilian, Mexican, and Colombia families. That's $8 billion more in those respective economies. It's good. And, still to this day, 70% of Latin America is unbanked, and our mission continues.
That's very interesting. So basically for your team, your ability to reduce cost or become more efficient allows you to tap bigger markets, basically, and get to more people.
Exactly. It allows those two things and even more. I mean, let's face it, if you're a Porter's Five Forces fan, I mean, a low cost to serve is a strategic weapon. It helps us fend off the incumbent banks, and it helps us fend off the other digital banks. We talk about our cost to serve in our public investor relations presentations, and we're very proud of it. And we have more to do because we can always get better.
That's great. And sounds like you put a lot of emphasis on the work with engineers and the awareness and getting them engaged. And I wonder from that perspective, what is your expectation from your team with regard to their technical language? Do you give them training or expect from them a certain technical level so they can speak with engineers and communicate with them better?
We're very much an AWS shop. So for those who are not on there, I'll kind of talk on some AWS specifics. Um, all of the folks on my team have gone through the cloud practitioner certification, which is a non-technical introduction to the cloud. We also encourage very much everybody who is on my team and all the engineers who are interested to reach out to the FinOps Foundation and take their education as well, because they have it for various persona and it's a good fit. We have introduced to the engineers at Nubank, there is a cloud financial management module that they now have as a part of their onboarding that we introduced last year. And, just build up that momentum. So when I got here, you had to teach the folks who are here. Now we start that education on your first day at Nubank. Part of your curriculum is learning about the cloud as an opportunity to create leverage and to create business value and spend those dollars as you wish, but spend them wisely with the expectation of a return on investment.
So, Mike, you mentioned already that you're using AWS as your primary cloud provider, correct?
That is correct.
Now, I see you as one of the more advanced FinOps leaders out there, and I'm really curious how your FinOps stack look like. Except for AWS, do you use any other tools, and what tools do you use?
Oh, absolutely. We have a partnership with a company that for our cloud cost visualization, that focuses on ingesting the AWS cost and usage report. We apply our cost allocations, and we do run a full chargeback model here. We charge back, I think now that the new year started and we have our new allocations, I think we're above 98% of full chargeback out and back. So we have that specialty tool. We have a tool that sweeps every day looking for cost savings opportunities and gives us guidance and advice on what those opportunities are. And we can bundle them together if they're like opportunities and work on them as a block and get them out to the various engineering teams. We can slice it and dice it by team. We can slice it and dice it by issue. We can, order it by here's the big ones. Let's get those done first because we get a good bang for the buck. We use Cloud Custodian from Capital One, so we've got that piece of open source software. And we have a automated solution to manage our convertible reserved instances to get that last little bit of margin that kind of shifts up and down that you really can't cover with a very static or manual convertible reserved instance policy. And you don't want to overcover with savings plans because you got return on investment issues, let alone the lock-in for either 12 or 36 months.
Very interesting. So if I try to summarize it, you have a tool for cost reporting, mainly for chargebacks. You have a tool for mapping out inefficiencies and improving the efficiency of your infrastructure and how you use it. You have a tool for cloud compliance.
Yeah, compliance and cleanup, or operational hygiene, as I like to call it.
Right, and something on top of that help you with getting the end of the margins for the commitments piece.
Right, and each tool is very specialized and very good at what it does. And, we pick the right tool for the right job. And they're all very good and all very specialized. And that's awesome for us because we benefit from their expertise in their specific domains.
It sounds like you took more of a strategy of picking the best of breed in every category versus just staying with AWS.
Exactly. The AWS tools are good, but they only take you so far. And then, some of the tools are, it depends on the viewpoint of how the tool is made. And I'll be the one who complains out loud of the difference of the observations that you get from Trusted Advisor versus Compute Optimizer. There are different perspectives on sometimes giving the same domain answer set on something like utilization. And again, the specialists, AWS being the generalist and the specialists being the AWS partners out there, the specialists, there are some awesome ones out there and they do their thing really well. And those are the people we want to partner with.
Totally get it. That's great. And Mike, if we now go to the future of FinOps in a Nubank, what would you say is the biggest challenge you have today?
Biggest challenge in FinOps is that Again, the people problem, getting people to really care that margin is important. And I always say margin is the fifth most important thing. Security, we're a bank. You can't trust your bank with your data or your money. We just turn off all the resources, save all the money, and go home. So we've got security, reliability, and resiliency. Reliable and resilient systems cost less. They also have good work-life balance add-ons. That system getting paged in the middle of the night. We're in a highly regulated industry. You have to have an amazing customer experience. Just being low cost isn't good enough. You have to make the customers want to use your app and engage with the app and make it a seamless and low friction part of their lives. And then there's cost. We don't put cost above security. We don't put cost above resilience. We never put cost above the law. And cost and customer experience is a balancing act. Can you deliver a page in, 100 milliseconds? Probably. Will the customer really notice the difference between 100 and 400 milliseconds? Probably not, but your bill will be a lot different. So there's a little bit of a balancing act there. So cost around here is job 5. And when something's job 5, it sometimes gets forgotten. So we want to keep it present in everybody's mind, make sure that it's a non-functional requirement in your specifications in the work that you do. And at the end of the day, the margin matters because I want my RSUs to go up. I want my colleagues' RSUs to go up. I want our shareholders' stock to go up and I want our customers to be happy and receiving full service at a very low cost point.
And Mike, for all the FinOps people that are listening to us and maybe one day want to become FinOps entrepreneurs, is there a challenge today that you feel is not being addressed by the tools that are out there?
I've had this talk with probably every FinOps tool vendor out there, and we will have it again. Certain aspects of saving money present individual personal risk to the engineer. And what do I mean by that? Oh, the tool tells me I'm over-provisioned. I'm using too much EC2 or whatever the compute terminology is for your cloud vendor. Well, in the Amazon space, you go up 100% or you go down 50%. So you've got a step function. Going down 50% when you're over-provisioned is scary, unless you're massively over-provisioned. It is scary, and the person who brings down production is that person, or the team that brings down production by being too aggressive, is where that personal risk comes into play. If somebody could build a nice EC2 load balancer where I could put an array of EC2s I want to test and route traffic to those individual ones, and then at the end of all of it, when I'm happy with the one I want, the other EC2s I don't want go away, the load balancer goes away, and I have my direct pipeline and I've minimized my costs. That would be, to me, whoever makes that's going to be really wealthy, and I'm not smart enough to do it. But to me, that is the big missing, that the step function. The other way around that is if the cloud vendors would offer configurable number of cores. That way I could improve my granularity if I can't, and lower the amplitude of the step function. That would be the other way around it. I don't expect them to do that. I'm sure there's all kind of hypervisor and hardware issues and other things that go along with that type of problem. And for them having blocks that are, up 100% or down 50% create some level of efficiency that I'm not aware of.
That's great. And I'm sure you've done a great service to our entrepreneur, to the future listeners. And Mike, are there anything that you decide actually to build instead of buying?
To build instead of buy, certain cleanup things, because even if I had a tool that cleaned up, let's say, a unused resource, I still want to have a level of configurability about the checks and authorities of who can do what, simply because if there are some unused resources that could jeopardize production. An example would be an elastic IP address that's just sitting around. Maybe it's part of your backup strategy. And I would want a tool that would allow me to have a level of configuration that's probably not out there in the market today. So we would build something in Cloud Custodian specifically to address that and meet our requirements.
Understood. And Mike, let's talk a bit about the future of FinOps in general. So sounds like a lot of the things that are top of mind for you are really creating like this people transformation or cultural transformation in the organization. Do you see a situation where in 5 years, the engineers are really aware, understands the cost, it's top of mind, and FinOps role changes completely?
No. Um, Engineers, in my experience, and again, having been one, I want to work on the cool new thing. I want to work on what's next, what's exciting, either for my product in the markets I serve or with the technology I use to serve those markets. I'm always going to want to be up at the front because most engineers I work with and the engineers I want to work with are that way. Because of that, there's always technical debt. I am a strong believer in there's lots of margin opportunities in technical debt, and that is always going to be something that takes effort to get done and prioritized, especially if you're in a business that's growing at a hockey stick rate the way we have been at Nubank. We want to focus on markets and whatnot. We've got lots of technical debt because we were born in the cloud about 11 years ago, and there's things to clean up. But the bias is towards still the growing markets, and as markets slow, if and when they do, there'll be more opportunity for technical debt. And I want to get people interested in technical debt. I love that part of the world, is taking something that is awesome and making it better. Taking something that was built in yesterday's technology and bringing it to today's technology and taking advantage of the advancements that the new technology has. And that work is never simple. Maybe GPT will be able to do it for you someday. I don't think so. But it really, there's a lot of, you look at it on a global scale, there's billions upon billions of dollars that could be saved by remediating technical debt. And that's just a space I really like. And to me, FinOps is a form of technical debt remediation. Going back after somebody's built something and financially optimizing it or operationally optimizing it, because remember, cost is a second order function of usage. So operationally optimizing it so you can get a good cost profile, it's always going to be out there and it's always going to be interesting. And code, like somebody's handwriting, is always unique and different, and everybody's architecture is different. And yeah, will it be automated someday? I'll be long retired or long dead when that happens. So I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah. And Mike, you really talked about the growth of Nubank, and obviously Nubank has a very, very impressive growth rate. And you're basically a digital native enterprise.
Correct.
Do you feel like a digital native enterprise that have very, very high growth rate introduces specific challenges for the FinOps team?
Yes, because again, the focus is on growth. Product market adoption and scale are in a high growth industry. Those are going to be focus 1 and 2. And all the FinOps in the world, unless you're literally lighting money on fire in the hallways of your business, operationally optimizing to get that financial optimization, separate and distinct from rate optimization and contract negotiations, that's always going to be a distant third as it relates to product market adoption and focusing on top line growth. And that's okay. I need that product market adoption and top line growth, so I have something to clean up and make better and improve, because they're out foraging and making new markets and creating new products and doing cool things. And, there's a bunch of us coming in behind and making it better.
Okay, I think you gave us some very, very interesting advice, Mike. And now I want to go from the professional to the personal.
Uh-oh.
So first of all, you already mentioned that you live in Granger, Indiana.
Yep. For those who don't know where Granger, Indiana is, if you're an American college football fan, I'm about 4 miles from Notre Dame Stadium. I'm in the middle of the state of Indiana, all the way up at the top. I live about 2 miles south of the state of Michigan.
And it sounds like you're pretty good with the weather there, even in the winter.
Oh, I love it. I've grown up here. I love having the seasons. I wouldn't change a thing.
Okay, and we already mentioned that you were both an accountant and a software engineer.
Yep, I like to say I'm a retired engineer and a recovering accountant. And I think one of the things, to go back to the FinOps and maybe talk about FinOps careers, I think engineers have a distinct advantage when it comes to the space of FinOps, because I think it's easier to teach an engineer debits and credits than it is to teach a non-engineer the details of technology. And for you engineers out there, this is a fantastic career opportunity that lets you understand how the business works in addition to the technology. And if you understand the business and you understand the technology, you've got wonderful options, whether they're in FinOps, management, or going off and doing your own startup.
Absolutely. And sounds from how you describe it that you enjoyed better the software engineering.
I like creating things, but I also like optimizing. And to me, those, who can do it with the least effort, the games that require, accuracy. I like optimizing. I think it's a challenge to take somebody who built this really awesome product that tens of millions of people are using and make it better. I may not be the best idea person in the world, but I'm pretty good at operations and, minimizing resource utilization and minimizing resource consumption to, in turn, minimize cost. And to me, that's a fun problem to solve because it's different every day.
I can definitely relate, and optimization is definitely a hobby of mine as well, like optimizing everything there is to optimize. So I can definitely relate. And you went to Purdue University and you studied computer science and Russian.
Yes.
How's your Russian?
Russian's a little rusty. It's been, I graduated Purdue a long time ago. But in order to get a science degree, the School of Computer Science was part of the School of Science, you had to have 4 semesters of the same foreign language, and I was very bad at Spanish. And I took Russian, and it was very easy. And I did my 3rd year at what was then called Leningrad State University, and I stayed an extra year at Purdue to take more advanced computer science classes and complete my Bachelor of Arts in Russian.
Very cool. Very cool. And if I take you now to your last day of university, when you got your degrees, what advice would you give the Mike of that day?
The Mike of that day? Interview with Microsoft. It was 1988. They had just, recently gone public, and going to Redmond back then would have been a fun and exciting adventure. Kind of like being at Amazon at the front end or Google at the front end.
That's great. And what do you do outside of work for fun?
For me, I'm an amateur radio operator. I have the U.S. call sign N9YB. I've been a ham. This is my 40th year of being a ham radio operator. It's a hobby I picked up at Purdue. And I spend my mornings before the sun comes up and up late at night talking to people using Morse code or my voice all around the world, and just meeting and greeting folks at random. I love it.
So just like chatting with people, only on radio.
Exactly. It's the old timer ham people say it's the original social media platform.
That's very, very cool. I should definitely try it as well. So Mike, if our audience want to reach out to you and ask questions, what is the best way to reach out?
Look for me, Mike Rosenberg on LinkedIn. You'll see a picture of my beautiful bald head. That'll line up with the picture you see here. Happy to chat with you about FinOps anytime.
That's great. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us today.
All right. Thank you so much, Alon. Take care. Be well.
And I would also like to thank our listeners. If you learned something, had fun, had a nice laugh, please tell your friends about this podcast. Mike, thank you again. This has been another exciting episode of FinOps in Action. See you next time. That wraps up another episode of FinOps in Action. Thank you for joining. For show notes and more, please visit finopsinaction.com. This show is brought to you by Point 5, empowering teams to optimize cloud costs with deep detection and remediation tools that drive action.